You took your first breath into a family that didn't really care much about you. For now, you're an innocent, adorable little thing. Would you look at that? Who could ever guess that such a sweet, tiny creature could grow up to be a deranged, psychopathic killer? Anyway, in your early months, your mother nurses you every now and then just to keep you from starving. And unfortunately, whenever you cry at night, even as a baby, you sometimes get hit. Yes, it's sad, but it's real. By the way, the scenes you're about to see were performed by professional actors. Do not try this at home. You made it through your first months with all their pain and survived until the age of 3. I can't say it was bittersweet because, honestly, there weren't many sweet moments. At 3 years old, the age when you're supposed to be taking your first steps into socializing while other kids are playing outside, you're just watching the exhaustion in your mother's eyes and your father's face swollen with rage. Oh, and since nobody ever bothered to properly potty train you, you wet the bed from time to time, of course. Most kids feel ashamed when they wet the bed and get punished. You did too. Your father would yell and scream at you. But after a while, you started doing it on purpose because wetting the bed had become the only way you could get your father's attention. Yeah, even that felt like love to you. And this was one of the stages of the McDonald Triad, though not the burger kind. The person in question is a psychiatrist. His name is McDonald. McDonald studied the childhood backgrounds of 100 criminals in a psychiatric facility and observed that 3 specific traits appeared far more frequently in violent offenders compared to other criminals. So you had just checked off one item on the McDonald Triad, persistent bedwetting. Anyway, you spent a few years in those same patterns. By the time you turned 7, while other kids were playing hide and seek, you started testing how many legs a bug could lose and still survive not for the sake of science, just because you were curious. Your experiments escalated step by step. Once you got bored of insects, you moved on to bigger animals: frogs, mice, cats, dogs. Your family would buy you a cute little pet to keep you occupied, and, well, you can guess the rest. Your goal was to awaken the sense of control within yourself. Controlling a living thing, dominating it, holding its fate in your hands, it gave you pleasure. And with this, you had completed the second trait of the McDonald Triad: cruelty to animals. Anyway, you despicable, characterless, and someone I'm struggling not to curse at started elementary school, and here you put on your first social mask. Your social skills were non-existent. You spent most of your school days thinking you'd rather be spending time with animals. You were very much the school's weird kid. Of course, you were bullied repeatedly throughout your childhood. Even when you tried to stand up to those you thought you could handle, your inability to connect with people, being as withdrawn as you were, made it impossible. You'd already taken the first blow from your family, now you were taking the second from your classmates. Your hatred toward people had grown far deeper. Did you deserve that? No, of course not. Days passed and you reached adolescence. Things got even more serious now. You were trying your luck with girls, and of course you were getting rejected. You didn't even have 2 friends to talk to open up to. While they were planning dance classes, you were writing in your notebook about the pressure points on the human body, about knives, about how to cut things more efficiently. I'm saying vegetables, but I think you all know what I really mean. At 15, in a science class, you carried out your first act of arson. You were heating liquids in containers for an experiment. It was entirely plausible, supposedly by accident, for a tube to tip over and a small fire to keep burning. You asked permission to go to the bathroom and stepped out of the classroom. And a few seconds later, people were harmed in the explosion and fire caused by the tube. And just like that, you had completed the final stage of the McDonald Triad, a fascination with fire setting. Congratulations! You have successfully completed all the tasks in a serial killer's background. By your 20s, you had isolated yourself from society, spending your days as an angry, bitter young man. You were working at a butcher shop, trying to suppress your urge to tear things apart through legal means. You were basically a full-blown psychopath. Anyway, by your 20s, you were smarter. Since you had a somewhat decent appearance, you could put on your mask, play a role, act like someone you're not, and hide yourself very well, but you still couldn't suppress the madness inside you. Tearing things apart no longer gave you much pleasure, and you started planning your first kill. Your first victim had to be someone special. Your parents. Yes, the primary motivation of serial killers is control and power, and the family is the very first place that control was lost. When the killer reaches adulthood, they try to eliminate their parents, the source of the childhood trauma that dominated them, and the symbol of their loss of power. So one evening after coming home from work, you put your first chilling plan into action. Injuring them could get you caught. But since your family's drug use was already well known in your circle, and they already had a criminal record for it, you knew no one would suspect foul play if they overdosed. The plan was simple: spend your entire paycheck on drugs and lay out an all-you-can-take feast for them. To savor the feeling of domination over your drug-dazed family, you take a few drugs yourself, and the result? Drug-induced coma. Now that your family is gone, and since your filthy urges haven't disappeared, you start looking for new victims. But first, you need to learn about certain risks. True crime books, forums, podcasts, and documentaries. You took notes on all of it like it was homework. Then came time to choose a weapon, but not just any weapon. You choose your signature. Knives are personal. Effective at close range, but meaningless if your target is strong or trained. Firearms are risky. They make the job easy, but they're loud. Poison is subtle but hard to administer to a victim, and obtaining it could expose you. Strangling is silent but slow. You try to strike a balance between control, silence, cleanliness, and emotional detachment. You might practice on animals, mannequins, or even yourself if necessary. Now that your research is done, you're ready. Next, choosing a victim. This is the darkest part. Not just anyone. The lonely, the bullies, those who look down on you, and of course, those whose disappearance wouldn't be noticed right away. You stalk your target for days, weeks. You memorize their habits, their routes, the sounds in their home. You might know exactly how long they spend in the shower. This isn't an impulse, it's preparation. The actual act takes 30 seconds, but the preparation takes months. You plan not just the killing, but both being caught and not being caught. You research how to dispose of the body, where to park the car, how long it takes for a body to decompose. You know what luminol is. Luminol is a chemical substance used in criminology and forensic units, capable of detecting even the smallest traces of blood. Anyway, once you spring into action, you're no different from a hunter. You take care of someone and erase all the traces. You maintain your mask in public perfectly. No one suspects a thing. Of course, that wasn't enough for you. You take care of another one, and another. By now, the police have deepened their investigation, suspecting a serial killer. And somehow, that even pleased someone like you. I'm saying someone like you, but you're not offended, are you? Or go ahead and be offended. I don't care, because that's what you are. Deep down, you want to be caught. You want the intelligence behind your meticulously constructed plans to be discovered too. You want people to know it was you. Yes, every serial killer deep down wants to be caught at least a little. The string of your operations must eventually come to an end. A single woman, a lonely old man, a young man living far from his family, but slowly you started making mistakes. You drew suspicion to yourself. This was bad. Because while you were on the police's radar, if nothing happened to anyone, the chances of you being the serial killer only grew higher, but you couldn't execute your plans while they were watching you every day. Still, you didn't back down. You couldn't suppress the darkness inside you, and one day, as you were breaking into someone's home to give them their last breath, you were caught in the act. Your sentence, of course, life in prison. A person, though I can hardly bring myself to call you that in their 30s, set to spend the rest of their days mostly in solitary confinement. Cut off from society, alone with yourself, in a place where you can no longer harm any living creature, seeing sunlight for just 1 hour a day, you lived until the age of 52. At 52, a mouse crept into your cell and gnawed at you, and you died from the resulting infection. There have been truly chilling serial killers throughout history. For example, Alexander, after eliminating 61 people, he was caught in 2006 and found guilty of 48 murders and 3 attempted murders. He reportedly protested, pointing to a chessboard with the names of his victims marked on it, claiming it wasn't 48 but 61. He was even annoyed at the police for catching him before he could kill the remaining 3. Then there was John Wayne Gacy, who in the 1970s murdered 33 young men. By day, he would entertain children at parties dressed as a clown named Pogo, and by night, he would lure his victims to his home with promises of work or magic tricks. He'd handcuff them as part of his act and then slowly take their breath away with a rope. His basement was filled with bodies, and Ted Bundy, handsome, well-educated, and charismatic. Bundy killed over 30 women in the late 1970s. His weapon was a crowbar. He would fake injuries and ask women for help to lure his victims. When he found the right moment, he would finish the job. He even kept some of his victims' heads as souvenirs. And there are many more. Friends, I know this video is deeply disturbing. I even went back and forth on whether to make it at all. I don't have much to say about the video, so it's Don Chichi signing off.